In this video tutorial, we're going to be showing you how to work with our brand new Faux matte letters and numbers photo frame package. This particular layout that you're looking here on the screen is available in our download section, so you can download the layout, drag and drop your images into the layout, and you can see for yourself what a great effect this is. It just is a really interesting effect, and it's certainly more cost effective to have your images digitally matted than it would be to actually have custom mats cut. And like I say, once you have it printed and you have it put in a picture frame behind glass, the effect is amazingly real. So I'm going to show you how to utilize these photo frames to recreate a similar effect. So let's begin by just creating a new blank file. And we'll go do a 20 by 10 is fine. And then we're going to add some letters. But always when I add content, I always like to create a blank layer, and then I can come in and add frame content. So I'm just going to double click on my S and drag it over, and my E and my N, my I, O, and an R. I'm then going to select all my letters, and I'm going to choose Align to Top Edges, and then I'm going to choose Distribute Horizontal Centers. Now right now all the letters are kind of overlapping one another, but if I take one letter, move it over, and then select them all again, I can do Align Top Edges, but Distribute Horizontal Centers, and now you can see we have a nice spacing between each letter. Then I'm just going to free transform so all the letters fit on my canvas. So this is going to be kind of like a signature board. You'll see kind of how this will work. It's a really neat effect. Alright, so now from here I'm going to go ahead and drag and drop in my images. So that's the next step. So I'm just going to go ahead and begin by dragging and dropping my images. One more here. Let's go with this one. Then from here we can make any adjustments that we might want to make to our images. So I'm going to just kind of scale this one. I might flip this one horizontally, reposition it. I think that looks pretty good. And then any other adjustments that we might want to make, we can make as well. Just double click on the image. Maybe we'll flip this one horizontally. I think that might look a little bit better. This one here, not much we could do with that one. So I think that this one here will just nudge over in the frame a little bit. And the same thing with this one here. Okay, so once we have all of that done, then what we want to do is switch over to our layers palette. And what we need to do is actually create a frame layer, or a matte layer, I should say. So we're going to create a new layer. And then what we're going to do is we need to make a selection around each one of these letters. And there's really no easy way to do that, because when I control click on this layer, nothing happens. And that's because right now it's a frame layer. So once I have my images positioned exactly where I want them, I need to simplify all my image layers. So I right click and choose Simplify, 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 and Simplify. Now all the layers have been simplified, and now if I control click on the layer, notice I get a selection. If I hold down my shift key now and control click on the next layer, I get another selection added to the first one. So I want to do that for all the letters. Control shift click, Control shift click, Control shift click, and Control shift click. And of course you Mac folks, you would use Command and the shift key. Now once you've done that, then back over here on layer 2, let's call this matte layer. Okay, we're going to invert our selection. And our foreground color is this nice light shade of gray, which is fine. And we'll use Alt backspace to fill with foreground, or Option delete for you Mac folks. And that's it. That gives us the basis of the effect. Only thing left to do is to add the beveling effect. And under the effects tab, we have our elements elements designer digitals. We choose add matte bevel, and there we have a really neat effect. You can see how realistic that looks. Nice little matte effect there. Now what you could do with this, just to give you an idea of what you might do with this, is you might get this printed out on a 10 by 20 and then have classmates sign this and then frame it, and it had to be a real nice little memento for the high school senior year. So that just kind of gives you just a very basic idea of how it works. Now, from there, we can actually create just about any type of mat layout we want. So, for example, let's do something a little bit more complex. Let's create a blank page. We'll do a 12 by 12. And I'll try not to keep it too complex, but I just want to give you an idea. And I'm going to do a more step-by-step tutorial on this type of layout, but I'm just going to run through it very quickly here. So what we're going to do is do a fixed size selection of a 1 by 1 and click and drag over some guides. Guidelines by default snap to selections, so that certainly makes life pretty easy when we need to make selections very quickly. And then with our next set will be at 2. And if I click again, see, we'll just go ahead and click. We'll add over some guidelines here. All right. So that takes care of that. We're going to switch back over to our layers palette here and begin adding some layers. So first of all, I'm going to make a selection for my outer mat, invert the selection, create a new layer, fill with my foreground, make another selection. This will become my inner mat layer, if you will. Actually, no, we're not ready to do that. We are going to make a selection, but we're going to pull over a guideline, and it'll snap right to the center. And then I'm going to make a fixed size selection of like 3/8 by like 60 inches. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to click and pull over that guideline, and then pull over some new guidelines that will represent exactly 3/8 of an inch wide. Flip these guidelines around. Same exact thing. Pull down these guides and deselect. So you say, well, what exactly is going on here? Well, it all starts to make sense here momentarily. What we're going to do is we're going to just draw out 4 rectangles. These are going to become my image openings. Okay. Then what we're going to do is we're going to make a selection. Remember how we did earlier? We just control click, shift key, shift key, shift key. Okay. Invert the selection, right? And then we're going to create a new layer. Let's use a slightly darker color so we can differentiate between the two, and fill. Okay. So if I clear out my guidelines, this will all start to make a bit more sense. So this is my outer mat, and this is my inner mat. And let's add some beveling. So there's the bevel on the inner mats. Go back over here and add the bevel to the outer mats. And now you can see what great effect we've already created with this mat. So now what we're going to do is just going to convert these shape layers into frame layers, and we're going to use our designer's toolkit for that. So we're just going to click, and it will begin the conversion process of converting this into a digital frame. So let's see, I don't remember exactly what layer I picked. I guess it was that top one there. Alright, so we'll go back over here and convert. Now we could do the inner and outer mat. We could convert that into a frame as well. But I think what we're going to do here is we're just going to convert our main image frames and not worry so much about the inner and outer mat. Okay, one more to go here. Now, once we've created this template, now we can save this as a layered Photoshop file so we could use it again and again and again if we wanted to. But now, to populate it, let's just switch to a different set of images here. All I have to do is drag and drop my images, and they'll automatically resize to fit within these frames. Then, of course, I can double click on my image, and I can fine tune the exact placement within my frame. I can also adjust the zoom controls here. So if I want to zoom out or zoom in, have that flexibility as well. And that's it. See, we have a beautiful digital matte layout using that add matte function. So I think you're really going to like this series of photo frames, create some really interesting effects. Thanks for watching.